Hello, I'm Judith A. Yates, true crime author and criminologist. This is Best True Crime. Every episode, I take you on a journey to explore crime, forensics, and investigations. Hey everyone, this is Judith A. Yates, true crime author and criminologist, and amateur ghost hunter, or I really hate the word ghost hunter. We'll say paranormal investigator. Tonight, we are at Waverly Hills Sanatorium, or what used to be Sanatorium, and we are doing paranormal investigations from midnight to 6 a.m. This has got to be one of the most haunted locations in the United States. This is our second time here. Came here a couple of years ago, and I said that I wasn't sure if I wanted to come back here or not because the energy here and the things that happened to us were, I can't even describe it right now, but where I'm standing at right here used to be the dining room hall at the sanatorium. And by the way, we'll talk a little bit more about what went on here later in the videotape. And out of breath right now because there's a lot of stairs to walk. And for some reason, I can fence several bouts and be okay. But when I do stairs, man, it's killing me. But nonetheless, okay, so this used to be the dining hall here. A lot of energy here. I was told that you can pick up a lot of things here because this used to be the socialization area for the patients here. The patients here had TB, and you had to dress your Sunday best because you didn't want the other patients to know that you were sick. TB hospital, but they didn't want the patients to know they were sick. So everybody dressed in their Sunday best. Men were allowed to hang out, talk to females, share the same table, talk. Everybody's dressed up. Everybody's here for a meal. And this was what was the dining hall. Now we're going to be exploring some more areas later on in the tour. We're going to try and talk to a couple of spirits that are still lingering here. But I wanted you to kind of get a look at what used to be the dining hall here. And again, I was told that you can pick up a lot of paranormal energy here. Now, for some reason tonight, the energy here is just almost electric. We just took a short tour of everything, told some of the stories here, told some that were basically urban legends that they can or they can't tell that they're true or not. So the energy here, though, just walking through it's almost like being covered with prickly pears. So come with us, come on the tour. The money goes to restore Waverly Hills. It's the realwaverlyhills.com. I'll give you that information later on in the video. This place is amazing. It's May the 4th, 2022 at the Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Louisville, Kentucky. The sanatorium is located in southwestern Louisville in Jefferson County, Kentucky. And by the way, you can tell a true Kentuckian by the way we pronounce Louisville. It's not Louisville, it's not Louisville, it's Louisville. For history lovers, the building style is early 20th century, early Tudor Gothic Revival architecture. It's gorgeous. You can come just to look at the building. It's listed on the National Historic Register. For paranormal investigators like myself, Waverly Hills Sanatorium is called one of the most haunted places on Earth, if not the most haunted place on Earth. The building has quite the history, but its fame really began in 1910 as a hospital to accommodate tuberculosis patients. Antibiotics were non-existent for tuberculosis, also known as TB, so the cure used to treat TB included heat lamps, a lot of fresh air, positive environment, and some surgery. The Mayo Clinic defines tuberculosis as a potentially serious infectious disease that mainly affects the lungs. The bacteria that causes tuberculosis are spread from person to person through tiny droplets released into the air through coughs and sneezes. In the early 1900s, it was dubbed consumption. Complications include spinal pain, joint damage, meningitis, liver or kidney problems, heart disorders, and a hacking, persistent cough. It's very painful to go through. And while there are treatments now, TB still exists. But there were no treatments in the early 1900s, and for so many people, TB was a death sentence. In the early 1900s, Jefferson County was ravaged by an outbreak of TB. It was called the White Plague. And Waverly Hills was built in 1910 to accommodate this rising number of TB patients. Tuberculosis cases skyrocketed in Louisville because of all the wetlands along the Ohio River. They were marshy areas where it was just a breeding ground for the virus. Now at Waverly Hills, there was a children's ward, and some paranormal investigators, to include staff and volunteers at Waverly, have reported seeing the ghosts and apparitions and heard the voices of little children here, especially here on the top floor. Despite all the fresh air, heat lamps, and all that positive talk, the death rate of TB patients at the time was 1 death per day. Bodies were literally stacking up in the morgue and in the hallways near the morgue. It brought down patient morale to see these dead bodies, so bodies had to be transported out of the hospital another way. They couldn't just push them past all these living people. So they used a tunnel to transport both dead bodies and supplies in and out of the sanatorium. This is the tunnel you're looking at right now. The tunnel is 500 feet to the bottom of the hill, and it has a set of stairs on one side for the workers. And there once was a cart that moved up and down the staircase, which transported supplies and other necessities. Now, it might look like an easy walk, but I can promise you it is not an easy hike. During World War I, the tunnel was also used as a temporary air raid shelter. I want to take a quick break right now, and I want to tell you about my latest book. It's a fiction based on true stories, a young woman's terrifying descent into a cult. When we come back, I'll tell you a very strange story that happened to some very bad boys, and I want to show you the actual marks in a door from the axe. Okay, so we just had a very interesting experience on the 3rd floor with, I don't even know how to explain it, with what would be called a shadow person. It was a very active area where we actually did observe shadows of individuals going in and out of rooms, standing in the hallway. We saw lights going, I don't even know how to explain it, going around and about. It was a very active area. We even got some words and names of the EVP. And then someone that was with me on the team was looking over the balcony, and on their EVP came a voice that said, what did they tell you? Don't fall off.
Yes.
And said to the teammate, don't fall off, in a very, very clear voice. So I'm still having a detox up after that. But right now, we're on the 4th floor. And before Waverly was open for tours, you'd have folks breaking in and teenagers writing their names on the walls and what have you. Okay, so one of the stories that occurred is some teenage boys, rowdies, broke into the building and were doing what they did best, which was terrorizing and spray painting the walls. And security guards walking the area heard this horrific banging, came up here to this door in particular. And these kids are screaming in this window, let us out, let us out, let us out. And the security officers did this, in which these kids fall through the doorway, and an axe that they're carrying falls into the stairwell. And these guards are saying, what the hell is going on with you? And they're like, the shadow people wouldn't let us out. They couldn't get the door open. So they're pounding it with an axe. And to this day, you can still see the marks left where these kids hit the door with the axe. The story is the security guards did not call the cops because they figured these kids had already had the bejesus scared out of them. What more could you want? So that's the story that happened on this floor. And unfortunately, when we were on the floor with the activity, we couldn't film, but I'm not even sure it would have turned up on film. But one thing that I have learned is on these ghost shows where they're chasing ghosts, these guys filming themselves going, what was that? Did you hear that? If they're filming themselves more than the actual activity, it's not real. All right, so we're going to continue to tour Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Louisville, Kentucky, and we will go from there.
Waverly Hills has some great memorabilia on display in their lobby. These are actual items used when the hospital was in use. History buffs and paranormal investigators would love these vintage photos. Now, the hospital closed in 1961 due to antibiotic drugs being available, and they lowered the need for such a hospital. Today, there is a Waverly Hills Historical Society, and there are Halloween event fundraisers. I strongly recommend public tours and investigations. But please take the tour and the investigation seriously. This is not a carnival ride or a haunted house designed by your college frat house. This is an actual haunted location. No one is jumping out of the dark to scare you. There are no smokes, mirrors, or wires. The guides take it seriously, and they'll tell you the true stories that have been actually carefully researched. They'll also tell you some of the urban legends that go with Waverly Hills, but they will let you know these are stories that haven't been confirmed, or they are legends, or they are tall tales. Just remember, people died here in this building from horrible, lingering deaths. I wish we had caught some of the things that we saw and heard on video, but due to faulty equipment, it was just not possible. And we didn't want to film ourselves running around saying, "What was that? I heard something. Did you hear that?" You're just going to have to tour and see for yourself. You have to book way in advance, so be sure to go online and book your tickets at therealwaverlyhills.com. Keep an open mind, and please be respectful of everyone, even those you can't see. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Best True Crime. I'm Judith A. Yates, and I hope you subscribe. Be sure to visit truecrimebook.net and be safe out there.